From being jumped in Compton to now signing a pro contract to fighting in Atlantic City. What a journey.
I left without a scratch.
Chrisean,
yeah.
But I mean, you're a gospel singer.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to fight for your life and defend yourself. So I wasn't going to lose my life, so I had to get to my car. Yeah.
That's a tough beginning to a story. You handled your business, and I respect that.
And I wanted to change it into something positive.
Okay, baby Jesus, I see you standing up, shorty, moving around. It's cool. I like how you try to walk. That's crazy. He like literally picking himself up and like walking across the sidelines of it. Like, you doing good. Good boy. You know how when you swim in the pool, but you like, for him, that's a big step. Like him trying to move us like on the side, like the side of the thing by itself. That's okay. I see you, baby Jesus. But that comes with, you know, me spending extra time. Where's Bob at, boo? I'm ready to take this off. Oh, he loves you, Doctor. Look at look at him. You make me miss my G, baby. Mona, give me a
Wait, hold up. Pause the chaos for a second. Because the timeline that usually wakes up screaming about drama just woke up smiling. Yes, smiling. Chrisean dropped a positive update about Junior. And before people could even process that emotional whiplash, Blueface slid in with a surprise that had the internet blinking like it needed glasses. This wasn't scandal energy. This was plot twist with soft music energy. Now let's be honest. Social media is addicted to mess. It survives on arguments, screenshots, and 3 a.m. live streams that feel like reality TV without commercials. So when something wholesome trends, people don't know whether to clap or squint suspiciously. Because in a world where chaos sells, calm feels like a conspiracy. And somehow, that's exactly what made this moment louder than any fight ever could. Chrisean, speaking positively about Junior, shifted the entire tone overnight. No yelling, no accusations, just focus, growth, and motherhood energy. And then boom, Blueface surprises everyone in a way that flips the narrative on its head. Suddenly, the same comment sections that were once battlegrounds turned into therapy sessions and think pieces. Is this maturity a new chapter? A co-parenting plot twist nobody predicted? Or is the internet so conditioned to expect explosions that it can't handle peace? Buckle up. Because when positivity starts trending where chaos once ruled, that's not just an update, that's a storyline shift. And trust me, the reactions were louder than any scandal. The update didn't arrive with dramatic music or flashing captions. It wasn't packaged like a scandal. It was calm, direct, focused on Junior. And somehow that simplicity hit harder than any chaotic livestream ever could. Because when you're used to turbulence, stability feels like a breaking news alert. The tone alone told people something was different. Chrisean spoke about Junior with a grounded energy that immediately shifted the temperature online. No defensiveness, no distractions, just motherhood at the center of the conversation. And for a split second, the internet didn't know how to react. Was this the same timeline that usually thrives on conflict? Because suddenly, people were typing heart emojis instead of hot takes. Now let's talk about why this felt so unexpected. Public narratives can box people in. Once the internet labels you chaotic, every move gets filtered through that lens. So when something wholesome shows up, it feels almost suspicious, like viewers are waiting for the dramatic music to start playing. But this time, it didn't. Fans flooded the comments with relief. Some admitted they'd been worried. Others praised the focus on Junior's well-being. There was a protective tone in the discussion. Like people collectively understood that this update wasn't about headlines. It was about real-life growth unfolding under a spotlight that rarely dims. But here's where the tension builds. Because whenever positivity trends in a space addicted to drama, skepticism follows right behind it. A portion of the audience started asking questions. Is this a permanent shift? Is this strategic? Is this just a moment? Social media doesn't accept change easily. It cross-examines it. And then came the curveball. Blueface entered the narrative with an unexpected surprise that shifted the conversation again. Not loud, not chaotic, just enough to make people sit up straighter. Because when two names that usually trend separately suddenly align in calmer energy, that alone feels cinematic. The internet loves a twist, especially one that disrupts expectations. Commentary pages jumped into analysis mode immediately. Is this co-parenting harmony? Are we witnessing growth? Is this temporary peace? Every angle was explored like fans were studying a season finale. And once, the debate wasn't fueled by outrage. It was fueled by curiosity. Curiosity hits differently. Instead of shouting matches in comment sections, there were discussions. Instead of memes mocking drama, there were posts highlighting maturity. Some users even admitted they preferred this version of events. That's rare, because outrage usually outperforms optimism in the algorithm's game. The timing also mattered. After weeks of heavy online tension surrounding various headlines, this moment felt like a reset button. It didn't erase history, it didn't rewrite the past, but it introduced a new tone, and tone shapes perception more than people realize. A calmer narrative can quietly rebuild public image over time. Still, critics stayed cautious. They pointed out how quickly things can change in celebrity culture. They reminded everyone that one positive update doesn't define an era, and they weren't wrong. Public life moves fast, headlines flip overnight, but even skeptics had to admit this felt different. The body language in clips told a subtle story. There was less edge, less defensive posture, more centered energy. That shift doesn't require a dramatic announcement. It's visible in small details. And small details often reveal more than loud statements ever could. The internet noticed. Even if it pretended not to. Then engagement numbers told their own story. The update traveled quickly, not because it was scandalous, but because it was hopeful. Hope spreads differently. It moves through group chats with relief instead of shock. It gets shared with captions like love. To see this, and that emotional difference matters. Some celebrity edges and voices chimed in with supportive comments. Nothing over the top, just nods toward maturity and prioritizing family. The tone across platforms stayed relatively measured, and in today's social climate, measured reactions are almost revolutionary. But here's the layer beneath all of this. The public isn't just reacting to the update. It's reacting to the possibility of evolution. People are fascinated by transformation arcs. They love seeing someone pivot from chaos toward stability. It feels cinematic, like a redemption subplot woven into a reality storyline. At the same time, the internet doesn't forget. Past controversies still linger in memory. Old clips still exist. That's why the response is layered instead of unanimous. Some viewers celebrate growth immediately. Others wait for consistency, because consistency is what solidifies narrative shifts. And that's the real question brewing. Is this a moment, or is this momentum? Because moments trend, momentum transforms. If this calmer energy continues, perception gradually recalibrates. If it disappears, the internet files it under brief era and moves on. That's the fragile nature of public reinvention. The dynamic between Chrisean and Blueface also added complexity. Co-parenting in the public eye isn't simple. Every interaction becomes content. Every gesture becomes speculation. So when cooperation appears, it doesn't just feel personal, it feels symbolic. It suggests maturity in a space where immaturity often dominates headlines. And let's not ignore the emotional core. Junior is at the center of this narrative that shifts everything. Conversations about children soften even the harshest critics. It reframes debates from entertainment to responsibility. That emotional weight influences how audiences respond. For now, the energy feels steadier. Not explosive, not chaotic, just steady. And sometimes steady is the boldest move in a world addicted to volatility. The absence of conflict becomes the headline. The lack of drama becomes the twist. But suspense still lingers because the internet never fully relaxes. It watches, it waits, it measures patterns. If this trajectory continues, we could be witnessing the beginning of a new chapter. If not, it becomes another archived moment in a long timeline. The second wave didn't come with chaos, it came with commentary, and commentary, when it's layered, can be louder than any argument because once the positive update settled in, people didn't just react, they started analyzing. Every post, every caption, every subtle shift in tone became part of a bigger conversation about growth. Meme pages, of course, couldn't resist. But this time, the energy wasn't ruthless. It was playful. Instead of "here we go again," the captions read more like character development unlocked. Edits popped up with soft music in the background. Comparing old chaotic clips to this calmer era like it was a glow-up montage in a coming-of-age movie. But don't get it twisted. Skepticism still had a microphone. Some users leaned back with crossed arms and said, "Let's see how long this lasts." Because the internet has trust issues, it has seen too many dramatic pivots dissolve into familiar patterns. So instead of blind celebration, there was cautious applause. And cautious applause is louder than silence. Then Blueface's surprise became the center of its own subplot. People dissected it from every angle. Was it supportive, strategic, symbolic? The timeline turned into a think tank overnight. Reaction channels uploaded breakdowns with titles that felt like season previews. New era loading. Peace treaty confirmed. The phrasing alone kept curiosity buzzing. What made it even more fascinating was the absence of hostility. No immediate backhand forth, no messy rebuttals, just a calmer interaction that felt almost mature. And in a digital landscape where conflict usually generates the most engagement, maturity trending felt like a glitch in the system. Celebrity-adjacent personalities chimed in again, but with a softer tone. Instead of cryptic shade, there were subtle acknowledgments. Comments about focusing on family, mentions of growth. It felt less like a battlefield and more like a roundtable discussion. That shift alone signaled that something was evolving in public perception. But here's where the narrative got even deeper. Fans started reflecting on how narratives are built. In the first place, they questioned whether the internet sometimes locks people into one-dimensional roles: the villain, the chaotic one, the unpredictable one, and when someone steps outside that role. It challenges the storyline viewers have memorized. Because, let's be real, audiences love consistency in characters. When someone known for turbulence suddenly operates with composure, it disrupts expectations. It forces people to reconsider the box they placed them in, and reconsideration takes effort. It's easier to say, "It won't last." It's harder to admit, "Maybe this is growth." Engagement numbers told a quiet story. The update continued circulating, but not with the frantic energy of scandal. It moved steadily, shared in group chats with captions like "This is good," discussed in comment sections without shouting matches. That steady momentum felt healthier and rarer. Meanwhile, critics began reframing their doubts more thoughtfully. Instead of dismissing the moment outright, they asked about consistency, about long-term actions, about sustainability, and those questions weren't rooted in negativity. They were rooted in experience. Public reinvention requires repetition, not just one headline. Blueface's involvement continued to spark layered discussion. Co-parenting in the spotlight is complex. Every gesture is magnified, every decision is interpreted. So when cooperation becomes visible, it carries symbolic weight. It suggests prioritization over performance. And that suggestion alone reshapes public dialogue. The pop culture comparisons started rolling in. Some users compared this shift to artists who transitioned from wild debut eras into reflective second albums. Others likened it to reality TV arcs where the most controversial character surprises everyone by becoming the voice of reason. It felt cinematic, not because it was dramatic, but because it defied expectations, and expectation is everything. Online. The internet predicts patterns like weather forecasts. When those patterns change, people pay attention. The absence of conflict becomes newsworthy. Stability becomes intriguing. And that intrigue keeps eyes locked on the timeline. But here's the twist within the twist. The calmer the narrative became, the more suspense built around it. Because viewers are conditioned to anticipate disruption, they wait for the unexpected argument, the sudden fallout, the plot reversal, and when it doesn't arrive, the tension transforms into curiosity instead of outrage. Some fans openly admitted they preferred this energy. They expressed hope that this chapter sticks. They emphasized how focusing on Junior shifts priorities. They talked about how public figures are still human, capable of growth. That tone felt less like gossip and more like community reflection. Yet the internet never fully relaxes. It observes patterns. It compares timelines. It watches for consistency. If this steadiness continues, perception gradually recalibrates. If it wavers, skepticism resurfaces. That's the unspoken contract of public life. For now, though, the narrative has momentum, not explosive momentum, sustainable momentum, the kind that builds slowly instead of erupting loudly. And sometimes slow-building momentum reshapes legacies more effectively than viral spikes ever could. The dynamic between Chrisean and Blueface now feels layered instead of volatile. Not perfect, not polished, but layered, and layers create complexity. Complexity creates depth, and depth changes how audiences engage with a story. The internet may crave chaos, but it also respects growth when it sees consistency. And right now, the storyline feels less like a cliffhanger and more like a turning page. Not a dramatic finale, not a guaranteed fairy tale. Just a subtle shift in tone that has everyone leaning forward instead of bracing for impact. And now we enter the part of the story the internet struggles with the most, the aftermath. Not the explosion, not the shock, the aftermath. Because once the initial wave of reactions slows down, what's left isn't hype, it's perception. Perception is fragile. It doesn't flip overnight, but it can tilt quietly, and this moment, it tilted things. Not dramatically, not with fireworks, but subtly enough that even critics had to adjust their tone. The narrative shifted from brace for chaos to watch for consistency. That alone is a major recalibration. The real test isn't the announcement. It's what happens in the days and weeks after. Public growth isn't proven in one heartfelt update. It's proven in repetition, in steady behavior, in the absence of old patterns. And right now, that's what everyone is watching for, not the next scandal, but the next signal. If this calmer energy continues, it reshapes legacy, because the internet may be loud, but it respects patterns. When viewers see consistency, skepticism fades into acceptance, not overnight, but gradually, and gradual perception shifts are stronger than viral spikes. Blueface's surprise also carries long-term implications. Co-parenting dynamics in public are under a microscope. Every supportive gesture builds a new reference point. If cooperation becomes the norm rather than the exception, it rewrites headlines before they're even typed. That changes how both names are discussed moving forward. But here's the suspense: public life never guarantees smooth sailing. The spotlight doesn't dim just because the tone softens. If anything, it intensifies. Because now the narrative isn't about chaos, it's about sustainability. And sustainability is harder to maintain than shock value. Fans are measuring tone carefully. They're observing body language. They're noting the absence of hostility. They're watching for signs that this isn't temporary. It's like the audience collectively moved from gossip mode into observation mode. Less shouting, more studying. Brands are watching too. Let's not pretend they're not. Public sentiment influences partnerships. A calmer, more mature public image opens different doors than a volatile one. That doesn't erase history, but it adds context. And context influences opportunity. The emotional core of this story remains Junior. That changes everything. Conversations rooted in parenthood soften even hardened critics. When focus centers on well-being and stability, debates shift from entertainment to responsibility. And responsibility resonates differently, but here's the twist nobody can predict. Will the internet allow growth? Because sometimes audiences trap public figures in the roles they're used to seeing. The chaotic one, the unpredictable one, the headline generator. And when that role evolves, viewers either embrace the change or resist it. Right now, the resistance is quieter than usual. Instead of loud backlash, there's cautious curiosity. Instead of sarcastic dismissal, there's measured commentary. That tone difference signals something important. The narrative isn't fighting against this shift, it's observing it. Still, suspense lingers because the internet doesn't forget previous seasons. It remembers every clip, every argument, every viral moment. That memory shapes how this chapter is interpreted. Growth doesn't erase the past, it reframes it. And reframing takes time. If this momentum continues, the story transforms from unexpected positive update into new era. Not because someone declares it, but because consistency proves it. The loudest statement isn't a speech, it's repetition. There's also a cultural layer here. The internet claims to love redemption arcs. It celebrates transformation in movies and music. But when it happens in real time with real people, the reaction becomes layered. Viewers want proof. They want endurance. They want to see if peace outlasts pressure. That's where the cliffhanger lives. Not in conflict. In continuation. The biggest surprise wasn't drama, it was stability. And stability can be more disruptive than chaos in a space condition for fireworks, because when calm becomes the headline, everything changes. If future updates continue this tone, perception shifts permanently. If not, the internet archives this under brief chapter and moves on. That's the reality of digital culture. It rewards consistency more than spectacle in the long run. Right now, though, the energy feels different, less frantic, less defensive, more grounded. That difference doesn't scream, it settles. And sometimes settling is more powerful than shouting. The spotlight hasn't disappeared. It's sharpened. Every move from here forward carries amplified weight. Because once you signal growth publicly, the audience expects follow-through. And follow-through determines legacy. This isn't a fairy tale ending. It's a turning point. Whether it becomes a permanent shift or a temporary pause depends on what unfolds next. But one thing is clear, the narrative isn't where it used to be. Are we witnessing a genuine new era? Or is this just the calm before another viral storm? Is this growth with staying power? Or just a chapter the internet will bookmark and revisit later? I want your honest take, no filters, no sugarcoating. Drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is far from over. And don't just scroll past like you didn't just sit through a full storyline breakdown. Smash that like button like it owes you back rent. Hit subscribe like the next update could drop at any second. Because in this world, it absolutely can. Turn on those notifications so you're not the last one in the group chat asking, wait, what happened around here? We don't just repeat headlines, we break them down, flip the perspective, and call out the narrative shifts before they become obvious. Drama, redemption arcs, plot twists, glow-ups, surprises, we cover it all with energy, edge, and zero boredom. Because this isn't just commentary. This is Fame Flaws, where the spotlight never sleeps, the internet never relaxes, and every headline has layers.